Every woman deserves to feel vibrant, safe, loved, and feel her power. The Woman's Vibrancy Code podcast is here for a potent use of your time. We will cover energy, hormones, and libido with episodes that also dive into entrepreneurship, money mindset, feminine power, and much, much more. Introducing Maraya Brown, Yale and functional medicine trained women's health expert, midwife, mom, and entrepreneur.
All right. Welcome back to the Women's Vibrancy Code. Last time I did a deep dive into libido with Eva Clay, who is one of the guest master coaches within the Women's Vibrancy Code and a phenomenal sexologist. And I realized there is so much more to this conversation. So the topic today is obviously for adult ears. If you are multitasking and there are younger ears close by, please make sure you grab some earbuds and create some privacy. This is once again for adult ears. Let's cover some more. So a lot of my work is in helping women feel turned on by their life, their lover, and themselves. And I want to spend today talking about 5 healthy hacks to liberate your libido. So let's get right into it. Number 1 is I want you to be very clear that there is no permission needed to liberate your libido, to allow that fire to reignite, to feel turned on by the person that you see in the mirror, to feel turned on by the ways in which you're spending your days. And if you have a lover, the interaction with that lover, you don't need permission. Okay. You don't need permission to prioritize yourself. Rest is not earned. It is required. And what I find with the women that I work with is when they start really filling up their own cup, they start getting clarity on what is their passion and what is their zone of genius. And they start prioritizing time in nature. They start getting really clear in boundary setting and doing what they love to do. And first filling up their own cup. And how we do anything is how we do everything. So yes, that might mean new passion in changing careers, or new passion in how they interact with their partner, or new passion in the way in which they walk across a room, or the way in which they ask their partner how they want to be touched. It's all relevant. What's important is that you start getting more clarity on what inspires you. Think about when you were a child and you could play for hours on end in your place of imagination. Where did you go? When anything was possible and someone asked you, who are you going to be when you grow up? What motivated you? And likely what lights your heart on fire today is likely very similar. So can you say to yourself, no permission needed. I am a priority. I am the asset to my life. And as you start pouring into yourself, watch what happens in the passion that bubbles over. So number 1, no permission needed. Number 2, every sense is important. Okay. Ways that we can start cultivating more passion, new creative passion, is acknowledging that it's touch, taste, smell, sound, feel. It's all important, right? So do you have nice aromatherapy? Something next to you. For me, I always keep my aromatherapy next to my computer so I can smell something that smells luxurious, even when I'm doing a task that doesn't feel so inspiring. Can you play around with new types of touch? Maybe new textures in the fabric that you choose to purchase for your clothing. Maybe you ask your partner to potentially just use his hands. If it's a him, just use his hands on just this part of your body. Explore new and different ways. Try a feather, try a fork, try some flower petals, right? Experiment with different types of touch and start becoming more aware throughout your day of the things that are touching your skin. Right now, I can feel the chair on the backs of my thighs. I can feel my blouse on my neck. I can feel my hair slightly touching the tips of my earlobes. Can you start becoming more acutely aware of your body? Often we as women exist so much in our heads. We think and we care for everyone else. We have diffuse awareness. And start feeling your body. Feel your breath. Feel the tips of your toes. Feel your lips. Put chapstick or lip gloss on your lips and feel it, right? Taste. Can you take a bite of a strawberry and take a pause and really taste the strawberry? Feel it in your mouth and allow little moments, just 30 seconds here or there, to bring in something that ignites your soul, something that brings a little bit of libido, to look out the window and watch the clouds being pushed through the sky by the wind, the leaves dancing on the branches of the trees, and see beauty, and allow yourself to relish in that. Allow yourself to take a pause and feel gratitude for that experience of your touch, your taste, your smell, your sound, what you're hearing, what you're feeling. Because what happens is neuroplasticity increases and our brain actually starts expanding our pleasure places. Our brain starts desiring and looking for more of what you've just felt gratitude towards. And all of a sudden you start leading from a place of desire. And now you're on your way to feeling turned on by your life, your lover, and yourself. Okay, number 3 is hormones. Of course, as a women's health provider, I specialize in hormones. There's no way I could do a podcast about libido without talking about our hormones. Okay, so let's first talk about our sex hormones. That's your estrogen, your progesterone, and your testosterone. Okay, often we think of testosterone in the libido conversation. Absolutely, that's valid. Okay, if your testosterone is tanked, it generally will mean that you have less arousal. It will decrease actual experience of orgasm. Yes, yes. And so there are definitely ways that we can test your sex hormones. Let's not just throw a dart in the dark with our eyes closed. The Dutch test is your best option on the marketplace right now, and that's tested through urine. I like the Dutch Plus, so we get to see a 24-hour cortisol awakening response, so I can look at your adrenals as well. So don't go to your provider and have your hormones tested through blood, number 1. Number 2, make sure you're seeing someone who really knows how to interpret the tests, okay? Don't just go get a Dutch test and then take it to a random person and they're like, I don't know what to do with this, okay? So you can work with someone like me, a functional trained provider that understands how to read the Dutch test and takes that into consideration, looking at the quantifiables in collaboration with who you are and what your life is like and what is fueling you and what aspects of your life inspire you and what don't. When you look in the mirror right now, do you love what you see? Because yourself is listening to yourself. Or when you look in the mirror, is it generally talk of self-loathing? Right? That's all relevant and important in the context of this conversation. Estrogen and progesterone also play a role. So often during, for a woman in her fertile years, during week 4 of the menstrual cycle, that's i.e. the PMS week, there's a big gap between the estrogen and the progesterone starts to drop, and generally libido will start to tank. For a woman who has consistently low estrogen over time, she's more likely to really struggle with vaginal dryness and vaginal pain. Obviously, that's going to impact your libido. Okay, so sex hormones play an important role. I mentioned adrenal hormones with the Dutch test. When we were talking adrenals, that's cortisol and DHEA being the 2 main ones. Cortisol is the hormone of our stress response. We all are in high stress most of the day, whether you realize it or not, okay? There's a reason why when you watch a scary movie, your palms sweat, right? Your heart races, your blood pressure goes up. You can have a moment where you're looking in the rearview mirror and you see the lights of a police car going and you think you're going to get pulled over, and all of a sudden you get that like heat that goes through the tips of your nerve endings in your arms and your legs, that like adrenaline rush. Okay, you're getting a cortisol rush. And cortisol being pumped out over time now decreases our libido. Okay, cortisol is kryptonite to the libido. Cortisol is great if you need an acute fight, flight, or freeze scenario. Okay. Of course, you want it if you need to run fast, fight hard, or freeze. Of course, we want our cortisol to naturally go up when we wake up in the morning. It helps us prepare for the day and have energy to go. Having elevated cortisol all day long, no thank you. And DHEA is an adrenal hormone that is the precursor to our sex hormones. And so sometimes a DHEA level can be low, and hence libido is low. So just looking at hormones can tell us a lot. Okay. Our thyroid hormones. If your thyroid is sluggish, your energy will be low and likely your libido will be low. If you've gone to a provider and they've tested your hormone, your thyroid levels through blood, and they said everything is normal, and yet you have low libido, low energy, you have a hard time losing weight, you're losing hair, you feel cold all the time, cold intolerance, strange rashes, any of that going on, suffering from depression or kind of a flat affect, I want you to continue to advocate for yourself. So our sex hormones, our adrenal hormones, our thyroid hormones, and then there's the hormones oxytocin and dopamine. So oxytocin is the hormone of orgasm. It's the hormone of connection and belonging. It's at the highest in our life when we give birth so that we bond and fall in love with that baby. It helps us bond and connect with our lovers. It also surges when you have a heart-to-heart hug. And so orgasms will help increase oxytocin, which then increase your connection with yourself, your connection in your relationships, and your sense of belonging. So can you see how this all ties together? What I want is for women to feel turned on by their life, their lover, and themselves. Dopamine is that hormone of motivation. It's the hormone of desire, getting tasks done. And what they're finding is that women who have more vaginal stimulation, cervical stimulation, more sex, more orgasms, they have more dopamine. So what the book Vagina by Naomi Wolf, it's a great book, by the way. She talks about what they found with creative artists like singers and painters. And when they were sexually fulfilled, they felt this expansiveness and motivation to get things done and also more creative. Okay. So there really is a link between the power of our pelvic region and our vagina and our cervix and our clitoral area. Just so that you know, the clitoris is not just that little pea-sized thing. It's a whole network, and it's a complex network. So anyway, I talked about no permission needed. Every sense is important. What are the hormones at play? Okay, next, let's talk about libido in the context of vigilance or stress. What we know is that elevated vigilance decreases libido. Decreased vigilance increases the libido. In other words, if you are a high stress person, if you are always prepared for fight, flight, or freeze, if you have the news playing in the background, if you're worried about your finances, if you're unfulfilled in your work, if you're unfulfilled in your relationships, if you're looking at yourself in the mirror and talking with stinking thinking, and now the body is in constant vigilance, constant preparation to fight, that will quickly send your libido down. So what do we do about it? We give our adrenals some love. I talk a lot about adaptogen elixirs. Of course, you can grab my free adaptogen elixir recipes. They will be in the show notes. Please make them, drink them all day, every day. Adaptogens go in and help the body better adapt to stress. Spend time in nature. Take pauses and breathe. Go back to acknowledging all of our senses, right? Feel your body, get into your body. But the other piece around this conversation is to spend more time in your feminine power. Okay. So what that looks like, if we think about the empowered, mature feminine space, that's spending more time where you're in pulling energy rather than chasing. Okay. That's when we're in the place of wanting to nurture. We're doing things that feel nourishing to ourselves. We are in a place of pleasure. We're coming from a place of desire. Our actions throughout the day are led with pleasure. We're doing what inspires us. And in that place of being in our empowered feminine, generally we want to be touched. We're enjoying the oxytocin surge. We're more in touch with our intuition and listening within. We're in a space of surrender and sensitivity. We're in a space of being open. All right. Whereas on the flip side, if we are in our disempowered or wounded feminine, we're wanting to control it. We're wanting to white knuckle it, work harder, push energy, rather than just leaning back and being in that quantum feminine space that pulls things to us, right? So that disempowered feminine is push, push, push. We'll be the martyr. We'll spend time finger pointing and in blame, chasing down the next client, chasing down the next activity that's going to make us feel happy. A disempowered feminine space is we're sensitive. Maybe we get hurt easily. We hide. Maybe we spend our time nitpicking and demanding of those around us, particularly our partners. We're in fix-it energy rather than flow. Generally, disempowered feminine is in a place of unsatisfied longing, in a place of overwhelm, scarcity thinking, uncertainty, feeling anxious, getting caught up in comparing ourselves to another. I call it comparisonitis, feeling competitive. Okay. So in the context of decreasing vigilance and decreasing stress, the women that I work with are ambitious, driven women. They're up to big things in the world. Many of them are CEOs. Many of them are building empires. They're mothers, they're grandmothers. They play philanthropic roles in their communities. And what I want to say to you as you're listening to this is the more we can be in our feminine power, from a mature, healed, empowered place, the more the stress response goes down and we get to feel our power from a confident place. And in that feminine, powerful place, arousal ignites. Okay. That does not mean that we don't spend time in our masculine. Of course, we want both. So what does empowered masculine look like? Well, there are times where you're going to push, you're going to finish the job, right? You're going to get the shit done. Right? You're going to achieve that goal. If you're a driven woman, we can't always just be in our flowing feminine and not show up on time to our meetings and not hire the right staff and get things done. But we can do it from an empowered place, right? Where we allow ourselves to want to protect our children, protect ourselves, provide. And in that achieving place, when we're in our empowered masculine, even more dopamine is produced. And now we feel happy and we feel proud and we have achieved. So obviously stress management, I could talk about this for eons, but in the context of our libido, I think it's valuable to talk about this vigilance and stress and libido conversation in the context of our feminine power. Okay. And number 5, last but not least, is the vagina is a Rubik's Cube. All right. Your vagina is so unique, is so spectacular. Okay. You would be blown away at how different each one looks. And I've done lots of pap smears. I've run in the women's health in clinics all over the world, international health projects. I've been catching babies since 2000. Okay. I've seen a lot of vaginas. I've been in a lot of vaginas. Let's call a spade a spade. And each one is very unique, very different. They're even learning that how each vagina is innervated when it goes through the sacrum and then branches off down into our cervix and our clitoris and all the various, our perineum, all the various areas of our vulva, each one is uniquely wired. And so for some women, They enjoy firm touch or light touch or tapping or circular motion. Some women orgasm clitorally. Some women orgasm cervically. Some women orgasm anally, right? There's a wide variety. And so I say the vagina is a Rubik's Cube. And if you are in a new partnership or you're postpartum and you've given birth and now maybe your vagina's had some recalibration, or you're in perimenopause and menopause and now the hormones are changing, maybe the innervation is changing and things are shifting, well, you get to know yourself in a new way. Okay. And I think in regard to the vagina being a Rubik's Cube, of course, it looks different. It smells different. You have your own vaginal microbiome that is just as diverse and unique as we hear a lot about the gut microbiome. Let me tell you, my friends, the vaginal microbiome is a real thing as well. So no more douching. Okay. And so for those of you that are experiencing vaginal dryness or vaginal pain, there's so much that can be done, right? We get to look at what's going on with nerve innervation, what's going on with your hormones, what's going on with shame and past trauma that's happened in that part of your body from years, even decades ago, that's created a pattern that is reliving. And now it's expressing itself in your inability to orgasm or certain aspects, certain types of touch that you like and don't like. Maybe you tore during childbirth. There are so many factors, and we are constantly evolving and changing and dynamic beings. And so you get to be uniquely you. I encourage you to look yourself in the mirror. Whenever I did pap smears, I would always hand the woman a mirror, and I'll never forget seeing women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, all decades saying, this is the first time I've looked at myself. Seeing a woman in her 60s in tears saying, this is the first time I've looked at myself. My friends, you are beautiful and you are spectacular. And this is a space of our body that can be empowered. And it is directly linked to your power and your creativity in your space of creation, in your space of intuition, in your space of safety. Okay. So if you've not spent time thinking about your yoni, your vulva, the beauty of it, the area where you can create pleasure and power. And the last thing I want to say about our vagina specifically is, women, please don't ever allow penetration before engorgement. In male anatomy, it's very obvious if a man is engorged. He has an erection. There's an increase in blood flow to that part of the body. He's aroused. And for most women, our arousal is responsive. Okay. So over time, and it takes time for our bodies to reach engorgement. And engorgement for a woman isn't quite as clear. There will be increased blood flow. The labia will become swollen. The color will change from all the blood flow. The clitoris will actually swell up. And so a woman does actually have engorgement. And in general, if you want to watch the clock, please don't. But in general, about 20 minutes of foreplay and sensual touch and caress is in general what a woman might need to reach her version of engorgement. So I really encourage everyone who's listening to allow yourself to slow down, have conversations with your partner. Okay. Let him or her know how you like to be touched. Bring in something that smells good and tastes good and different forms of feeling and touch. Play nice, sensual music that turns you on. Use lots of lubrication, whatever it might be, until your body is yearning to bring something inside. Okay. That makes a big difference to know that once again, the vagina is a Rubik's Cube. You are an individual person and your arousal is very individualized. Not to mention your arousal will be different at different times in your moon cycle. Okay. So whether you're menstruating or not, what is going to turn you on during week 4 will be very different than what turns you on during week 2. So now it complicates the scenario even more for your partner to go, wait, I thought you liked this, but last week you said this. And you go, yep, I'm a very dynamic individual woman. And I'm going to speak my voice because once again, the womb knows, the heart listens, and the voice speaks. And the more we speak our truth, we prioritize ourselves, ask for what we want, allow ourselves to say, I don't even know what I want, but I think I want to experiment and try this new thing. You're a spectacular human being. And there's only one of you out there. You are the asset to your life. So in the journey of feeling turned on by your life, your lover, and yourself, I want you to look in the mirror and say, hell yeah, she's powerful. She's beautiful. She's worthy of love. She has so much love to give, right? I want you to feel turned on by the work that you're doing, clarity on what your zone of genius is, and spend the majority of your day in that. And prioritize yourself for those of you that are driven women out there with all your coaching programs to help build your business. I want you to also make sure that you've got your support system in your community to support your foundational well-being, your hormonal well-being, your sexual well-being. And that, my friend, will bring your career alive. That will bring your finances alive. That will bring your sexual life alive so that you feel turned on by your life, your lover, and yourself. And if you don't have a lover, you're your own lover. So fun, juicy conversation. Let's liberate your libido. No permission needed, my friends.
Wasn't this episode amazing? Let's distill it down to key takeaways and action steps.
Okay, in recap, a couple of the things that I didn't really talk about specifically during this episode. Let's talk about some specific supplements. So I mentioned adaptogen elixirs. I encourage you to drink your adaptogen elixirs every day. Grab my free recipes in the show notes. Okay, 2 adaptogens that you might want to really consider including in the libido conversation would be shatavari and ashwagandha. It's kind of the masculine and the feminine around sexual juiciness. Also, maca powder can help increase your testosterone level, making sure that you have appropriate thyroid support. So your selenium, your zinc, and making sure that you're getting the right thyroid testing. If you're looking for dopamine support, mucuna is a great adaptogen for dopamine support. And I can't finish this episode without recommending that you register for the next Vibrant Life workshop. Okay. These Vibrant Life workshops I do, and it's just my way of serving the masses. You get to come in and get a streamlined plan, specific action steps for you to increase your energy, start the journey of balancing your hormones, really get into the libido conversation, start building your confidence and your feminine power. Okay. So the link to the Vibrant Life workshop is below. Would love to see you come on over. The workshops are free. You get personalized concierge support. And like I said, it's my way to help women move from exhausted to energized, balance their hormones, and feel turned on by their life, their lover, and themselves. And all you have to do is show up. To prioritize yourself. No permission needed. Carve out the time on your calendar and show up for yourself in the same way that you show up for your children and your work and your coworkers and your family members. It's time for you to show up for yourself. And I'm here to catch you. And the beautiful community that I help facilitate is also there to embrace you, welcome you in. And I'm so thrilled to continue to support your journey. So cheers to the Women's Vibrancy Code. Cheers to a vibrant life, and cheers to liberating your libido.
Thank you for listening to the Women's Vibrancy Code. Connect with us and take the first step to transforming your energy, hormones, and libido at thewomensvibrancycode.com. Cheers to your zest and vitality. Make sure to follow for weekly power-packed value.